amazing work in this area. Really happy to have such a wealth of knowledge here. So to my right, I have Yvette Monique-Gray, who is the Regional Director General for Public Services in Procurement Canada. Yvette began, please, you can have a seat, I don't want you to stand up. Yvette began her public service career as a customs inspector at the Edmonton International Airport, and has been doing a lot of things in that area, and she is the recipient of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal for this work. So yeah, round of applause for that. Congratulations. The Queen has blessed you herself. This is an amazing thing. And from that, Yvette joined Public Services and Procurement Canada in 2021 as the Regional Director for the Pacific region, and Yvette is passionate about equity, diversity, and inclusion, and is the executive co-champion for the BC Building Black Leaders program, an initiative developed on behalf of the BC Federal Council. So, round of applause for Yvette Monique-Gray, please. All right. And to my right also is Clinton Lawrence-Whyte, who is the Director General at the Public Services and Procurement Canada. Clinton joined Procurement Assistance Canada as the Director General in November of 2020. Prior to this, Clinton was the Acting Director General of Procurement Business Management Sector, Procurement Branch, Public Services, and Procurement Services Canada, responsible for leading the provision of strategic and operational expertise and support to procurement operations. So, quite a resume and regiment of knowledge and experience across in procurement in Canada. And so I think a lot of the folks here are really interested to hear from you about how to get into the door, you know, for folks in our community, how to get those opportunities to grow their business. And I think to moderate this panel, we have Clavia Aline, who's going to be asking all the good questions that you want to hear. So Clave, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, good morning everyone. Welcome to our procurement discussion panel. Again, thank my guests, Clinton and Yvette, for coming. I want to get as many of the vendors, if you're a vendor and you can hear me or you're within earshot, if you can spare the time to really please come to the front and let's become a part of this presentation, because I think it's really important for the vendors to be able to get the information. So if you're available and you have maybe coverage at your booth, please make your way to the front, because I think this is one of the most important presentations for our entrepreneurial community. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, what is procurement? This is the question. And it's not an area where our business community historically has been a part of. We're not into government procurement. And you know, I'm going to get Clinton and Yvette to really dig more, to get deeper into this subject, because it's really important for us to understand that the government of Canada, they have contracts that they put out tenders and you can bid on them, and they're literally in the billions of dollars, literally every year. And I don't know what the percentage is of our community entrepreneurs that take advantage of these bids. I'm sure Clinton will get into some more information, but I'm sure it's a smaller number. And that just tells me right now that there's so much more opportunity for us as a business community and as entrepreneurs to access these resources from the government. So, you know, this is an area that we're not very experienced in, and that's why we brought down the panel of experts. And so I really want you guys to pay attention, try to get as much information as you can, write all the questions, because there's going to be a ton of questions as this is an unfamiliar terrain, but really get the questions down so that we can have a Q&A after and get some really productive information from the session. All right, so let's get this going. To my panelists, Clinton and Yvette, let's really dig into procurement. I guess we can start with you, Clinton, and you know, general question to give us a base understanding. What is procurement?
Thanks a lot, and it's great to be here, and thank you for the question, Clavia. Just want to salute all of the businesses out here. Really vibrant community, very impressive. Also particularly impressed by the young people out here, starting early. That's excellent. I think the future looks bright for the Black business community here.
Definitely.
And great work, of course, with the BBABC. That's fantastic. But yeah, in order to your question, absolutely. The federal government buys almost $24 billion a year in everything. There's very little that the government of Canada does not buy. So there are tremendous opportunities there. Part of what we're talking about today is to how do we connect the Black business community to these opportunities, and we'll spend some time talking about it But it'll be helpful, I have a presentation that may provide a bit of a context for us just to kind of understand procurement, understand the organization that I lead, Procurement Assistance Canada. I believe they're booth 509, but we can talk about procurement and how it kind of set up. So maybe I'll just move with the presentation.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay. So Procurement Assistance Canada, that's our mandate. So our role is to help business understand and participate actively in federal procurement. We have an increased mandate to make a real focus on supplier diversity, indigenous procurement, and help those opportunities emerge for underrepresented groups. So within our area, we have about 4 areas. We advise the government buyers in terms of some of the challenges faced by the different communities. We develop tools as well. We share practices with other jurisdictions, and we also just have other support mechanisms that are available. So pretty broad mandate with our core focus helping businesses get into federal procurement. We have offices across the country. I know my colleague Yvette will have a chance to talk about what's happening locally here, but
Yes.
we have coverage across the country in terms of on-the-ground support, ready to help businesses with support, seminars, etc. in terms of what you need. Bidding journey, very complicated slide, not really meant to be. It's just really just making the point that when we work with businesses, we recognize that your understanding of procurement may be at different stages. You may have a lot of experience, and in other cases, you may be starting at the beginning. So we just want to basically take you to through where you understand the opportunities, where to find them, what you need to get ready, get involved in the procurements, hopefully be successful, and sort of talk about how do you sort of position. And at every step of the way, depending on where you are in the process, we have services that can help you. And I should have said this at the beginning, our services are free.
That always helps, yes.
Absolutely. So we have this one service, coaching. If you've actually done a procurement before and you've had some limited success and want to sort of hone down deeply into what do I need to do to better position for some of these opportunities, coaching services there to help you. But whether you're experienced or if you're new to the game, we have different elements that can help you there.
Awesome.
Canada Buys, really, we'll talk about that, but that's our key website. You go there, I encourage you to go there. That'll tell you how to find opportunities. And you register, sort of a plug there. Register, self-declare. If you're from an underrepresented community, if you're Black, self-declare. Let us know. It gives us the data to understand who's available if we want to start to tailor programming. And the tender opportunities, that's where the procurements happen. Really, you can get hooked up with that. Our folks at the desk can help you how to do that. You can see where you can get support, different mechanisms. And I really love the community here, and I've been working with BBABC, all these wonderful people, Flavia and Narissa doing great work. I came in December, fantastic. They gave me some great support, put something together, so really want to see this community be successful.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that presentation, Clinton. Yvette, is there anything you can add to that? Maybe it was pretty thorough, but is there anything, tips or anything you can add about procurement?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit, starting with you see how Clinton shamelessly added that last photo there. So he really was insistent upon that. But the partnership with BBABC here on the ground in BC is really critical. And it's really helping us to reach out to Black-owned businesses. And there's kind of, when we talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion, we talk about nothing about us without us. And this is our way of developing these programs in conjunction with the Black business community. And so this partnership we have with BBABC is really important for that. So please give your feedback to us, give your feedback to BBABC, because they've got a direct line to us. It helps us to help them determine what is needed in terms of programming and learning more about the procurement process. So we host events and we provide guidance. We sponsor an event like this.
Awesome.
We let people know about the free services, but really we raise awareness about regional projects. We promote opportunities. We can advise on what's coming. And really our focus is on helping small and diverse business. That's really the key. And really happy to work with your businesses, either as a business or even individually. So you have a startup and you're interested in whether there are opportunities to sell that service, that product to other government departments. We're the people you would come to in Procurement Assistance Canada. So I'm representing the team here on the ground in BC.
Thank you very much, Yvette. I guess I'll stay with you right now, but we'll move into our next question. There are two big organizations in Canada, two main organizations that are associated with procurement. There's the PAC, which is Pacific Assistance Canada, Procurement Assistance Canada, sorry. And then there's the PSPC, which is the Public Service Procurement Canada. Right? And I just wanted to know, what is the difference? Because I know about Procurement Assistance Canada because we work closely with you guys, but what is the difference between the PAC and the PSPC?
Sure. Yeah. So for those of you who knew back in the day, PSPC, or Public Services and Procurement Canada, is Public Works. So basically that's what it is.
Ah, it's Public Works.
It's Public Works.
Okay.
Good, I'm glad I decoded that. That's, check mark. So Public Works is responsible for all buying for federal departments. It's responsible, it's a property manager for all office accommodations, responsible for major projects like remediating a mine, a contaminated site, construction of dams and bridges. So it's big, it covers a lot. You know, when checks are signed by the Receiver General, that's also under PSPC. So it's a very big department. Within that, there's the procurement branch, and the procurement branch represents the buyers for federal departments. And then within Procurement Branch, Procurement Assistance Canada is the arm that actually helps businesses and individuals to do business with government. And so they help decode that complicated slide that Clinton was talking about in his presentation.
Awesome.
That's really the specialty.
Awesome. And Clinton, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, maybe just building on what Yvette has mentioned. So our organization, Procurement Assistance Canada, has been around since 2005, and for those who've worked with us, you may understand us through a former name, the Office of Small Medium Enterprises. So that was the name up until recently. We did a bit of a branding change where we expanded our mandate to include the focus on supplier diversity. In the context of that, we wanted to have a name that better represented the kind of services that we do. And your very own Marissa Allen was part of the consultations where we actually landed on the name of Procurement Assistance Canada, et en français, c'est Soutien à l'approvisionnement Canada.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer, Clinton. So as we can see, there's a lot of information here to unpack, and I know some of you guys is unfamiliar territory, but I really want you to stay with us, write your questions down, and we're going to have a Q&A session after, because this is new territory for all of us, but I really want us to stay with it. And I have another question. This is going to be directed to both of you, actually. I guess we'll start with Yvette. Now, where can we find more information about the government procurement process? There's the website, there's those kind of avenues. Where can we get more information?
So I would say, first of all, I'll direct you to booth 509. My excellent colleagues from the PAC Pacific team are there, or the PAC Pacific. They have actually a card that has a QR code that will take you right to the site that you need that information.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. There's also another really good resource is the Government Electronic Directory Service. So basically you can find just about everybody in that GEDS directory. And again, at booth 509, they can help you find that. So if you want to do business with Department of National Defense, you can find individuals there. With Canada Border Services Agency, you can find the information there. Of course, BBABC.
So a quick question about that GEDS list.
Yeah.
So that GEDS list lists all of the, important people in different government departments?
Yeah.
So if we were in procurement and as an entrepreneur, say I was into catering,
Yes.
restaurant catering, stuff like that,
Yeah.
I could go and find, is there a procurement officer for whatever division or department in the government? I could look in that directory, that GEDS directory, find who the procurement officer or the buying officer, because they might have different names,
Yeah.
is, and I can contact them with an email or reach out to them cold call or otherwise to try to make a connection to start a procurement arrangement.
Exactly. You
Awesome.
could.
So that GEDS is a very good resource.
It is, it is.
Okay.
And yeah, and the Procurement Assistance Canada, even if you're really just trying to wayfind in the way that Claudia just described, Procurement Assistance Canada can help you with that. They can give you a list of names for you to reach out to, and you can proactively reach out to those people. So I think that's really, really important.
Awesome. Anything else, Actor?
Yeah, no, just to build on that, I think during the presentation I showed you sort of one of the slides that talked about registration. A couple of things. Really important that you go to that Canada Buys website and that you register as a supplier. And then that makes it available for you to get notified of different procurement opportunities that are coming up as well, and we'll be able to help you sort of set up. And as mentioned, we can talk about different strategies that you may want to consider to, like as Clavia and Yvette were talking about, how to get direct contact with some of the buyers. But a lot of that work can happen once you do connect with our folks at booth 509.
Awesome. So we got some contact lists so we can find maybe some of these buying officers in the various departments. So that's our first kind of point of contact. And then there's also registration on the Canada Buys website as a supplier, which helps you guys to find us. And we have to also demarcate that we're a registered minority or like under, what did you call it again?
Yeah, underrepresented. So we do have a registration. So there's a registration as a business that we would want you to do,
Right.
but then there's also a questionnaire that enables you to identify if you're what your characteristics, if you're a woman or a man, or if you're one of the underrepresented groups. It's also just something just to let us know, because we are looking at the potential of introducing down the road a supplier diversity program.
Right.
You know that you've seen these sorts of programs in the private sector, you've seen them in the US and other jurisdictions, so we are looking at that in Canada, and the data that we need to have is going to be helped enormously by you registering and letting us know what the communities out there and what your businesses, your goods and services that you have available.
Yes, so this is a key point. Registration on the Canada Buys website is important because it lets them see who we are and what we do, what we have to offer. As another addition to that, we at the BBABC, we understand as well that a lot of our entrepreneurs are small. They're small solopreneurs or very small businesses with less than 5 employees. And a lot of times they might not qualify for some of these tender contracts individually. Right? Now, what we're trying to do as the BBABC is we're trying to come in as a, I guess you could call it an intermediary, where even though that we have small contractors in a particular field or particular industry, when we combine them under our umbrella, we become a large contractor. And so we can, under the BBABC umbrella, for all of our suppliers here, all of our vendors, we can come under our umbrella and then we can approach Procurement Assistance Canada and PSPC. We can approach them as a large group, and then we can bid on those larger contracts, even though we're consisting of smaller individual contractors. You understand what I'm saying? So we can actually still go after larger contracts, but we do it with a unified approach, which is what we're doing here anyway. So we'll just continue with that story, and please feel free to reach out to myself, Narissa, or any of the BBABC team for more information. But I know a lot of you are already registered as members, you've already designated your industries and the products you sell and those kind of things, so we have a lot of that data. But I think as far as procurement is concerned, we want to make sure we have, I guess you can call them, a short list of vendors and suppliers that we can say, hey, Clinton, if I see a tender, we can apply for it, and we can apply for it with knowing the confidence that we have the capability and the capacity to fulfill the contracts. And I think that's another valuable addition to the procurement section, and I hope that you guys, even though you're small, don't feel discouraged. You can either go to the GEDS directory and you can source some of the information directly. Clinton has also mentioned that there's coaching services available through PAC, and they can also help you, guide you through finding tenders, bids, you know how to bid, the bidding process, all of those things. So there's definitely a lot of support systems out there. And then we also add the BBABC, and what we do is we will try to bring everyone under an umbrella so that we can bid on larger contracts.
I have one more thing to add, just sort of picking up on some of the points you mentioned. I should have mentioned it earlier. On the Canada Buys website, in addition to federal procurement opportunities, we also have links that tell you about relevant provincial opportunities, and also some of the larger organizations within BC and of course the provinces like hospitals, larger cities. They're also showing up on the Canada Buys website. So it is really a one-stop. That actually came about because when Canada entered into the European trade agreement, we were required to have a one-stop shop for all procurement opportunities. So while it's certainly helpful to European businesses, it's going to be very helpful to our businesses in BC and in Canada. So when you go to Canada Buys, you can see all jurisdictions and certainly larger cities and some of the different organizations.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
I might add something to that too, that there's no question that's too small. Like when you're starting a business, sometimes you have no idea where to start. So really that's what Procurement Assistance Canada is for. You can literally say, I have a business or I have an idea and I actually want to build it. What do I need to do first? What should I be thinking about? It might be a year from now. What should I do in the meantime? So really this is one of those situations where even if it's registering on Canada Buys and you're sitting there and it's 11 o'clock at night and you're stuck on something, definitely, the team is not available at 11 o'clock at night the next day. definitely reach out to them. So even if it's something as simple as figuring out how to register on Canada Buys, absolutely, that's the kind of question that
That's a complicated registration.
it can be. It's government, so we try to simplify it, but it's government. So definitely reach out. And the other thing I would just add before we go to the next segment is just, this is all about capacity building. Like sometimes we're not there this year, but it's about gathering strength, right? And so this is also about building for the future. And so it's really important to start somewhere. So again, as you said, Clavia, like even coming under the umbrella of BBABC to start is helping that. So thinking of this being a long game, and capacity building for the long game. So it's worth it, and I see, as Clinton said, a lot of youth here and youth business. This is really the time for the youth also to start looking at how they can be building for the future.
Shout out to our young entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
see you guys. And okay, so we kind of touched a little bit on how our organization, Hat Canada, can work with the BBABC. Are there any other, I guess, avenues for partnership going forward? I know we're looking at helping people to register on Canada Buys. We're trying to help them to really get involved actively in the bidding process and getting more of these government bids. Now, as far as with the BBABC, we're trying to do the umbrella thing because we have a lot of small contractors. Is there any other stuff that we can do as an organization to help our members, our vendors, our community to get more access to these tenders and bids or, and procurement? Is there anything else that we need to do as an association? Because you're on your end, we need to know what we need to do on our end so that we can connect and there's no gaps.
I would say events like this where you're bringing business together and creating the opportunities and connections, really important. I also want to make the point as well too, that when we're thinking about how to help the business community, a lot of partners here, I know we have colleagues from the government of BC here, they have a lot of programming that is also related to supporting business and different opportunities. So I'd say take advantage of it all. And we do operate on the principle of, even though you come to us wanting to get some help on procurement, but you may need other sites of services as well. So our folks are trained to help you identify where you need support, whether it's to a different federal programming, if you want to export, or if you're looking for financing, or in some cases if there's a relevant program as well at the provincial level, we'll put you in touch with our partners at that level too. But at the end of the day, you just want to make it clear that there's a lot of support out there. There is an appetite to see our supply chain become more diversified. And if you have a business idea, as mentioned, not too small, anything can happen. And the other one I want to mention as well too, subcontracting is also a possibility. So we do talk about opportunities where you can do business directly with the Government of Canada. Fantastic. We can make that happen. Certainly look at it. But we also give big contracts to larger firms all the time, and these firms in turn need partners to subcontract with. So you talk to our team, we can give you some guidance in terms of how to make those approaches and those connections as well too.
Awesome. I'm curious, just to add to that, before I go to you, Yvette, just 1 second. As a subcontractor, for large projects, I'm talking like large projects, would the BBABC and its fleet of contractors, would that be considered a subcontractor to one of the larger ones on a project? Like say, we're building like an apartment tower or a complex or something, like our bridge, even like a bridge, a large public service kind of project. And we had a bunch of tradespeople, masons, contractors, construction personnel, those kinds of things. We could amass, say we could find like 50 of them. Would that be considered like a subcontractor for one of these larger bids? Or do we come in as the main bidder for larger bids like that? Depending on if we have the capacity. As long as we source the capacity, can we do that?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think it really depends on the nature of the procurement that you're talking about. Usually for our tender opportunities, we'll be pretty clear about what we need in terms of the main contractor to do and to be able to commit to. And it's up to the main contractor, of course, in a competitive process to be able to demonstrate that they can meet the needs of the federal government. In turn, that main contractor may want to bring in other subs to help them. We don't have a contractual relationship with those subcontractors, so that's going to be an arrangement between that prime. If you're the prime, then you'll have a relationship with your sub contractors, so it's really based on whether or not you are getting the main contract from the federal government, in which case we're contracting with you and there's obligations. But if you're contracting with a prime, they will determine how they want to have that relationship set up.
Awesome. And towards procurement, Yvette, quick question. Are they, I know he was talking about larger projects and big ones. Those require like some kind of bidding process and you know, there's a whole bunch of reviews and I guess they take time. That's the essence of it. Are there any other like procurement tenders or bids that don't require like a long time, that don't require a bidding process where you have to compete with other companies for it? Are there like, I guess we call them low-hanging fruit? Are there any low-hanging fruit? And if so, what kind of, I guess, limits are there, cash limits for those kinds of projects?
Maybe I'll ask.
Or Clinton.
But yeah, I wouldn't say that it's that there are cash limits, and there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. So there's food services, a lot of food services contracts across government. A lot of contracts like that are actually very, they're easily accessible.
Right.
So again, looking at those, and we can even list the top 10 that might have food service contracts, or the top 10 that have furniture contracts, or something like that. So again, this is where the data we're gathering, this is where the Procurement Assistance Canada team can really help out, because they can give you some trend information on what's there. But even when we're talking about subcontracting, something to keep in mind is we have labor shortages. So even within the construction industry, lots of labor shortages. So if there are opportunities to partner for a prime contractor to partner with BBABC or another company, they would do that. So it would be a matter of working with BBABC to reach out to them. And you know who are the ones that are getting the big contracts, because this information is publicly available.
Okay.
So I think that also speaks a little bit to the capacity building. So maybe it's a subcontract at the beginning or subcontract, but over time, again, if
You can build the capacity.
then you'll have the capacity. So I'd say the second part of that would be just advocacy. So the municipal government here in Vancouver and Surrey, they do contracting. BC government does contracting, and the federal government. I mean, again, as a community, and maybe through BBABC or individually, you could advocate to have all of those levels of government together in one kind of a little bit of a buyer symposium, to hear more about what's available at the different levels of government. So all this is all, it's all open to business. It's just what you want to see and what you actually ask for. But government really is looking to diversify that supply chain. So
Awesome.
There's interest across the board on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Clinton, is there anything to add to that?
Yeah, maybe picking up on it. So Yvette mentioned a number of commodities that are really in demand, and they would kind of fall into that low dollar value range, like the food services, etc. Like those are areas where you can see the possibility of those faster procurements where the process might be a little bit more streamlined, usually under 25K. Those are ones where you want to work directly with a client department that may have a need. There may be a different process. Usually they usually pull in 2 or more bids to kind of see, but it's a little bit more streamlined than what you would see for a tender process. But if you talk to the team, they can give you some guidance in terms of how to get the outreach to sort of see if you can put yourself on a radar scheme for those opportunities. And I think regionally, I think the team is looking at putting together a sort of an event that will bring in a lot of the buyers in one place where you can actually make your pitch to the buyers in terms of what you have, so that you get on the radar screen in some of these.
Afro World 2024. That's where we're going to line that up, definitely. And I'm just trying to piece this together, because as an entrepreneur, I'm thinking, okay, so how do I access these bids, the low-hanging fruit? So I'm thinking, based on what you said earlier, my brain is going, okay, so I find the kids directory, and I look for the different departments. Maybe if I'm in catering, and I find a municipal department, there's a municipal government, those kind of things. I find a department, there's the purchasing officer. I reach out to them, and they have a process where they have a staff party or something, and they need catering. That process is different as far as procurement. It's slightly different to the ones that we do. But is it like significantly faster? Can we just, it's a direct relationship? Is it?
I would, probably think of it in probably a couple of ways. So if you're looking at the tender opportunities, so those are on Canada Buys, and we have different ones, like where we have like the big contract to build or to get these services, but then we have these other ones called supplier list where you can get pre-qualified, where they can kind of call you up on that. In terms of the direct calls to the contract officers, probably want to be a bit cautious about that one because it's interesting with procurement because you have the clients, like those would be a department that'll, or an organization with a department that'll say, well, we're going to have an event and we need a caterer. So it's going to be, how does that connection happen? It may be through the procuring officer or it may be through the actual client organization. So it's one of those ones where I think it's going to be like kind of get the strategy developed, and this is where talking to the team. And one part that we didn't spend a lot of time talking about is getting, if you're a caterer or if you have one of those businesses, getting on this pre-qualified list. That's something that's
the short list.
Yeah.
Got it. So we're almost wrapping up here. I just really have one more question, and then we'll go to the audience and we'll take some questions from you guys. But what, in terms of opportunities, and this is to both of you guys, and I guess we can start with Yvette for this question. In terms of opportunities for the next 12 months, are there any big opportunities coming up for members of our community, or vendors, or entrepreneurs within the next 12 months between your organization?
Yeah, I think that generally things that we've always accessed, food services contracts, furniture, different types of supplies, that's there. But definitely, I would say in the digital area, innovation, tech, anything that's tech-oriented, there's a lot of interest in that, both at the federal level, and I know being here in BC, there's a lot of interest in us building our tech sector. So that's definitely the way to go. And there's also something called Scale Up. It's with Shared Services Canada, which is like IT for the government.
Right.
And they're looking at IT-related goods and services and increasing the diversity of their bidders too. So this is happening across government. So there's a real interest in buying from diverse suppliers.
Right.
It's just they need to be able to see the list and see who's actually there in order to do more of that. But again, lots of outreach people at booth 509, but I mean, this is the time really to build your business, especially if it's in certain sectors, and tech is definitely one of them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Yvette. And Clinton, is there anything you can add to that for our panels?
Yeah, I would just note, I think I said at the beginning that the federal government buys everything, or almost everything. And so when we're looking at big government initiatives that we're doing, you'll find that there is a contracting part of it. So if you see anything in the news about the federal government doing something in a given area, it's highly likely that there'll be some contracting that's a part of it. So one of the things would be to look at the upcoming procurements on our Canada Buys website, and that'll tell you like what's out there, and I would encourage you to think about those. And one thing I'd mention as well too is that if you have your business idea, I encourage you to also think about, all right, they may not ask exactly for what you have, but when you look at what's out there, think about, okay, well, how can my service or good be modified a little bit to meet that need? So I want to encourage you to think about that.
That's very important. That's a really good point, Clinton, because I think more often than not, the services that we have might not fit or align with the requirements of the contract or bid. And so I think with a little creativity, we can align our vision and our goals and products and services to meet what you require. And I think that's the way to get these contracts, correct? Not
100%.
Yeah, not telling them, well, I have, I don't know, cheers and oranges or something, and do you need those? You listen to what you have to, what you want, and then we can our products and services to meet that demand. Okay, awesome. That's a really good tip. And are there any questions? Let's go to the audience. Any questions? You can put your hand, and I'll have a mic come over to you. I see Maureen in the back. How you doing, Maureen?
Hello, Mr. White and Mrs. Gray. Thank you so much for this presentation. It was really enlightening. I was wondering when you said that there were some programs that could be tailored based on the data that we declare when it comes to self-identification. Can you give examples of these programs that could be tailored when it comes to the data that you're getting?
I'm not quite sure I understand that question. Maybe can you rephrase it or maybe repeat it?
Okay, I'll try. So when they spoke about the Canada Buys website and the fact that we had to register to self-declare if we come from a diverse group, they said that based on these data that they were collecting, it was possible for them, for the department, to tailor certain programs. So I was wondering if there could be any example either of existing programs or coming programs.
Got it.
Perfect. Yeah, no, thanks for that. Something I mentioned earlier during the presentation is that we in PSPC are looking at introducing a supplier diversity program. It's something that we had talked about in our supplier diversity action plan that was announced in 2022. So if we do have a supplier diversity program that is targeted towards underrepresented groups, having the data in terms of knowing what the supplier community looks like, that would be helpful to us if we wanted to have procurements. I don't know if some of you will recall, but a couple of years ago we ran a series of pilots around making a number of procurements that were available to Black businesses, and we ran these across the country, and that was an example of where we wanted to sort of test the capacity in different communities to be able to supply goods and services to the Government of Canada. So with the data that we collect from those who register, we'll be able to be a little bit more ambitious in terms of the kind of opportunities that we can look out down the road.
Awesome.
Maybe I'll just answer that too. It might help us, for instance, to know that of the businesses that are registered, the Black businesses, these are the top 3 areas, the top 3 services that they would like to supply, or the top 3 goods that they would like to sell to government. So just being able for us to actually know a little bit more about what that supplier community has to offer, how often are we accessing it, how successful are they in the bidding process. So as that evolves, we'll be able to know more about what will benefit the community and what will benefit individual businesses.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Yvette. We can go to another question. Do you have any hands?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you.
Hi.
Hey. This is more a question for a pain point that I've seen in the industry of people that have products and services. Scalability. I think, say somebody has a really good product, right? And they've been doing a run of 1,000 units or whatever, and now they go to get this procurement, and you gotta come up with 10,000 units, right? I had a friend who did a deal with Winners, right? People don't know Winners is like net 260 or something, right? Winners is crazy where, you know, before you can actually get paid, you have to, right, you know, it sits in almost an escrow, right? So my question to you is, I think for those people that have that pain point, it's like, okay, I get the procurement, but I don't have I'm not liquid enough to fund this, right? Are there partnering grants or other things where the people can actually facilitate, or the grant that can facilitate the actual scaling of these procurements, right?
Are you referring to like a capacity building grant or something to that? Something to that
Kind of.
effect?
It's more the fact that, like, you know, you can get the procurement, but you might not be able to fund or facilitate the procurement, right? So do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, no, thanks a lot. It's a good question, and it's all about the scale. One of the things that you'll probably see in the procurement process that probably up front you'll likely need to demonstrate that you can deliver on it, so that might actually be part of it. So yeah, I think you're getting at a point of sort of in the run-up to the procurement to know that you're able to demonstrate that you can deliver what's available. I believe that Innovation Sciences and Economic Development, ISET, I believe they have some programming, not necessarily grants, but financing loans that may be helpful. But this is an example where you'll want to, you'll have to have a relationship with your bank, and there are some programs that the banks are made available that are targeted towards Black entrepreneurs where they may be able to leverage. But financing is going to be something that's going to be important. So I would probably think about it in terms of, when you're looking at the procurement, you may want to have it sort of set up in advance. It wouldn't be an after the fact, but it would be in advance to sort of demonstrate, because the federal government, we do want to procure with underrepresented groups, but we do want to make sure that you're going to deliver it. So good question on financing, and there are some programs available through ISET. I'd say talk to our team at the booth 509, and they can put you in touch with different programming. They can help you with the kinds of options that may be available. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I think I would also add that Pacifican, which is an economic development organization for the federal government that's just based here in Pacific, is another avenue. So I said Pacifican. But that whole idea of venture capital, all of that is so critical, especially to underrepresented groups, because you sometimes don't have the assets that conventional groups would have had to put that up against your business, and the bonding comes in. So I think you raise a really great point, and this is part of the capacity building, and I think the support that's needed for underrepresented communities as they're doing business with government. So I think definitely talk to the team, and that finance piece is really key. Completely agree.
Thank you very much for that answer, Yvette. And I think what I'll also add, I'll just add a quick point here. I'm trying to piece it all together and trying to figure out a roadmap as to how our entrepreneurs and our business people can access these services and really take advantage of procurement. And the idea that comes to my head is, in addition to what Clinton has said, financial assistance. You know, everyone who's been exposed to the BBABC know that we have partnerships with a few financial organizations, and we offer there's some partnership loans that they have lowered requirements to try to increase the access for our community to these financial, loans and stuff like that. Now, there's also a section on grants, and we also have a couple of associations that have come to the trade show that offer information on grants. So what I kind of want to say in a roundabout way is, as an entrepreneur and you're trying to get into procurement, even if you know right now that you're currently under capacity to apply for these grants, but you're looking to increase your capacity as the brother was asking, I think keeping in mind that your division is procurement, then when you go to the bank and you're trying to do your business plan through either our organization or a small business BC or one of our other partners, that you include your desire to expand into procurement as part of your business plan, because they can also, I think if you put that information in there, then they can see the potential. The financial institution can also see the vision of what you're trying to do with your expansion, plan. And they will also, I think that will be a more favorable addition to your business plan as well, for them to know that you're going to be interested in procuring from the government, because the government is obviously a very stable business partner to do business with. So I think we want to really include that in our business plans, if that's a vision, if that's a goal, and even if it's not primarily a goal initially, I think we want to leave room in the business plan for the possibility of getting into procurement, either individually or under the umbrella of a larger organization, whether it's the BBABC or a larger contracting group. I still think we want to be able to keep that in mind. So once again, I really want to thank my panelists, Clinton and Yvette, for coming out.
Oh, we got one.
Sorry.
I wanted to say, Larissa had something to add to that, to the capacity building piece.
Yeah, it's really great what you guys were saying, and I just wanted to make one quick note too, that if you are an organization or a business and you're looking to get into procurement, but that capacity building is a struggle, we have launched a program with the BBABC where we will go in as an umbrella organization to apply for tenders, and we will amalgamate businesses under our organization so that you can still get a piece of the action, but you'll be coming in as a subcontractor until you build yourself up to get to the point where you can contract on your own. So if we had, 3 businesses that sold pens, but individually they couldn't get the capacity to apply on their own for a government tender, we would go in under the BBABC and subcontract with those 3 businesses and still get them the business. So that's another opportunity for you to take advantage of. If you're interested in that type of support, come and see us at the booth in the middle of the trade show.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Nerissa.
So Clavia, could I just make one additional
definitely,
point?
please.
I should have noted as well too, like in addition to the different financing options that were mentioned, ISED, regional agencies, also at booth 509, we're partnered with Business Development Bank of Canada as well. So I just wanted to note that they too are a potential partner, and so it would be worth exploring conversations with them in the area of financing as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And once again, I'd want to...
We got one more question.
One more question. We'll take one more question. Hi, Maureen.
I'm excited about this. You touch all the topics that is important.
Thank you.
But the most important topic is if the government is ready for that line of ethnic product.
Products.
The capacity, scaling up is not a problem. There's companies who will scale up for you, but is the market ready for that product, that scale up?
Good question. I think we'll start with Clinton. I'll let you go with that one.
No, that's a good question, and I don't know if I have a perfect answer, but the federal government defines its needs through what its departments need to achieve their objectives, and if they if they do have a need, then they'll come to the marketplace and they'll do it. But it's a question of how is it going to change. But I think what's helpful is that society is changing, and there's a recognition that diversity is important, and you might see this start to move into the different kinds of things that they'll be asking for. So I think it's something that we'll want to see, but it's going to be a work in progress. But I think we'll just want to keep an eye on it, and I think be ready and just be able to sort of respond if these start to hit the market and there's alignment.
Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say that for me, being here on the ground in BC, federal government departments want to do the right thing. They want to make values-based decisions in their purchasing, in the way that they do business with the community, the way they interact with the community. So if we can meet them if you as business can meet them halfway, I think that goes a long way. So this is definitely, as Clinton said, we're entering a different era in terms of social justice. And federal government departments want to be part of that progress and want to be part of that change. So the more they can actually see opportunities to do business with various unrepresented communities, I think is the more they'll take it. So it's just a matter of stepping up and being at the door when that door is open.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer, Yvette. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Going once? Sold. Okay, well, I really want to thank everyone for taking the time to come out today to listen to the presentation. I already know it's a lot to unpack. I know it's unfamiliar territory, but we do have the resources, we have the personnel. There's booth 509 where you can go and answer all your questions there. Clinton, you're going to be on site for a while today as well, and so are you, Yvette. So they're going to be here. They're local experts. You can take your questions to them directly if you have time. They're also going to be checking the booths out. I know Clinton's been here yesterday. He's had a good tour, but please feel free to take advantage, and they'll add it to their procurement list. And we want to make sure that all of our vendors make the short list for whatever procurement opportunities they have in the future. So I really want to thank you guys again for coming out and sharing your information with our vendors and our community. And hopefully we can do this again bigger and better next year. And I'm going to take you up on that, bringing the buyers here to us so that we can make the connections directly. And again, thank you guys for coming. Enjoy the rest of the show. We're here till 5 this afternoon, and I'm going to pass it over to Michael. Thank you guys again.
Thank you, Clint. This is really invaluable. I think you hit a lot of different pieces that maybe if you're not in that space, you would never know is there. And I think there's so many of these connections that you're talking about, like, oh, I have the capacity to do something like that. And like for me, I have a business idea. Maybe that would be applicable to something that you're all doing. And so it really is inspiring to see people coming together to conspire in a good way. All right, so thank you all so much. And yeah, we're going to take a 15-minute break, and we're going to come back for our next session. Jeff Pinder is going to be talking about branding and marketing for the community in your business. And so we would love you to have you to come back here in 15 minutes. Before we do that, here's a short little video from the BBABC.